Welcome to Earth & Quests. My name is Mike. In this episode of Nemesis Battles, a Warlock fights against a Beholder. The Fiend Warlock is at level 16, using the rules in the 2024 Player's Handbook of Dungeons & Dragons. The Beholder is a challenge rating 13 creature in the 2025 Monster Manual. This Beholder created its lair in a watery estuary environment, and accordingly it is equipped with a few extra features. The Beholder controls 8 manifestations of its far realm dreams, using the statistics of fine blights presented as challenge rating 1/2 creatures in the 2025 Monster Manual. As with all of these videos, you can enjoy without any prior knowledge or investment. I will clarify what happens with the game mechanics and the story narrative while demonstrating in the 3D world builder and virtual tabletop system of RPG stories. The character model of the Warlock was imported from Hero Forge. For extra details about the Warlock character, in the video text description, you can find the web link for the level 16 character sheet in D&D Beyond. The infernal tiefling Fiend Warlock is named Belade Burns. As a Warlock, she can access powerful spellcasting, and she can work with a set of eldritch invocations. She uses a Pact of the Blade with her magical longsword that is the equivalent of a +2 Dragonwrath longsword empowered with fire energy. She wears studded leather armor enspelled with 6 charges of the shield spell. Leading up to this point, the Warlock Belade Burns claimed her own magical lair, attracted a group of farmers and supporters, and built a base of power of her own, independent from her fiend patron. She led an attack that resulted in the destruction of the Spellsword Academy. The local farmers previously provided the food supply for the Spellsword Academy, but now they are loyal to Belade Burns as their new community leader and protector. The community grows larger around the Warlock's lair, while Belade Burns considers how to expand her influence across the realms. Currently, a dreaded Worm of Doom rampages throughout the world. It was sent into this world by the Warlock's archfiend patron, but now it acts with its own free will, motivated only by its hunger for destruction. The worm tunnels through the earth. It could appear in any place and at any time, bringing total devastation, and then it burrows into the ground again to find its next place to destroy. The Warlock Belade Burns learns that the Worm of Doom recently destroyed a seaport town that occupies a critical point along trade routes. Right now could be advantageous for seizing control of this place and then rebuilding the seaport town as part of the Warlock's expanding domain. In this way, Belade Burns could command not only the farming community around her magical lair, but also the trade routes connecting throughout the world. The Warlock just might be able to access the means to seize control of the seaport town. Some time ago, the Warlock recruited a group of fishfolk, or Kuotoa, to construct a sailing ship and a set of siege engines. The original plan was to use this equipment for an attack at the Spellsword Academy, but then the Warlock proceeded to attack without this equipment. Belade Burns brings 2 of her trusted assistants over to the Swampland, where the sailing ship and the siege engines are prepared. The Warlock wants to send the College of Glamour Bard and the Beastmaster Ranger to lead the fishfolk or the Kuotoa with the invasion at the seaport town. The Warlock herself will return back to occupy and defend her magical lair. The Kuotoa reveal that the passage from the swampland out into the ocean now has become exceptionally dangerous. Whenever they try to move into this area, then they always end up turning back and staying safely in their swampland home. Around the passage out to the Grand Ocean, the Kuotoa feel as if someone or something is watching them with evil intent. A few of the Kuotoa reported that when they try to rest or sleep in this vicinity, then they become overwhelmed by terrible nightmares of a warped reality, causing mental anguish and forcing them to return back to the swampland. So far, they have been unable to bring the sailing ship out to the ocean. The Warlock Belade Burns suspects that an aberration type of creature probably is living in the passage area that connects the swampland out to the ocean. Belade Burns advises for everyone to stay here in safety, while she personally moves out to investigate the problem. While using a small watercraft, the Warlock navigates through the swampy water. Bellied Burns approaches the passage that connects out to the ocean. This place is unnaturally quiet. No wildlife animals are here. The trees appear to be dead. Bellied Burns feels the same sensation that the Koatoa mentioned. She feels the presence of an evil eye fixated upon her. Now she feels as if numerous evil eyes are locked onto her. The clusters of dead trees, bushes, and grasses clearly are lifeless, yet somehow they look like they are moving. Bellied Burns knows that she moves through dangerous territory. Enemies probably are watching her right now. They could attack at any moment. As a precaution, Bellied Burns moves her watercraft toward a patch of dead grasses and rocks. Here, she casts the spell Mislead, using a 5th level Pact Magic spell slot. Importantly, this spell involves no verbal component, so nobody can detect precisely what the Warlock is doing. With the Mislead spell, Bellied Burns creates an illusion of a duplicate of herself. The real Bellied Burns becomes invisible. While she is invisible, she steps out from her watercraft, and she nudges the boat out to drift farther into the waterway passage. In her secret location, while invisible, the Warlock attempts to remain motionless and undetected. She rolls a stealth skill check. The result is 18. The Warlock adds 1 die 10 with her Dark One's own luck feature, bringing the total up to 24. Bellied Burns is hidden, at least for now. With her concentration up to the next 1 hour, the Warlock Bellied Burns can maintain the illusion of the Mislead spell. She can sense through the duplicate's eyes and ears. If she wants to use her action to control the duplicate, then she can make it gesture. She can make the duplicate move up to twice of her normal speed. Meanwhile, the original real Bellied Burns remains invisible. The spell lasts for its duration, or until the Warlock ends her concentration, or it could end automatically if the Warlock will make an attack roll, cast a spell, or cause damage. For now, Bellied Burns waits to learn what will happen when the illusory duplicate moves farther into this dangerous area. The Warlock still feels the uneasiness of being watched. A large bulbous shape emerges from the water. A single large eye fixes its gaze on the illusory duplicate of the Warlock's Mislead spell. Several tendrils with eye stalks squirm around this creature. It floats up from the water and greets the newcoming guest, showing a toothy grin. Bellied Burns knows that this creature is a beholder. It is a legendary aberration type of monster, presented as a challenge rating 13 creature in the 2025 Monster Manual. This particular beholder is slightly different from others. It established its lair within this swampy environment, and accordingly it is equipped with a swim speed of 40 feet and the amphibious trait for breathing in both air and water. Within its lair here, the beholder gains 4 legendary resistances, allowing to fail a saving throw and decide to succeed instead. It gains 4 legendary actions, allowing a special action after another creature ends its turn. I will describe the details whenever they will become relevant. Among the clumps of dead vegetation in this area, 8 clusters are animated as the results of the beholder's incomprehensible nightmares. They use the statistics of vine blights, presented as challenge rating 1/2 creatures in the 2025 Monster Manual. In the watery environment, I am giving them a swim speed of 20 feet. These creatures are manifestations of the beholder's nightmares, and they obey the telepathic commands of the beholder's contorted thoughts. Unknown to Bellied Burns at this time, some of the vine blights were aware of her presence earlier before she used her stealth to hide. Vine blights perceive with blind sight, out to a range of 60 feet. However, their passive perception score is 10, and this value is not high enough to detect what happened when the Warlock became motionless and hidden with her stealth skill check of 24. The beholder is much more perceptive with a passive perception of 22, but even this value is not high enough to detect the Warlock at this time. The Warlock Bellied Burns knows that she cannot avoid a fight here. If she wants to clear the passage for her sailing ship to travel out into the ocean, then first she must defeat the beholder. Right now might be her only opportunity to succeed, using the Mislead spell to her advantage. All of the participants roll for initiative. The Warlock rolls 21. The beholder rolls 22. The 8 vine blights roll with a -1 modifier, resulting in 15, 8, 5, 14, 3, 18, 10, and 3. For simplicity of this battle, the vine blights all act together using the median value of 9. The beholder will act first, followed by the Warlock, and then lastly the 8 vine blights. In round 1, the Beholder sets its sights on the illusory duplicate of the Warlock's Mislead spell. The Beholder is equipped with 10 eye stalks, and each one can emit a separate type of eye ray. The Beholder rolls 1d10 for each of the 3 eye stalks emitting an eye ray right now as a way to randomize the selection. A roll of 8 indicates the Petrification Ray. A roll of 10 indicates the Death Ray. A roll of 2 indicates the Paralyzing Ray. Each of the Beholder's eye rays could be devastating. Right now, though, they create no effects against the Warlock's illusory duplicate of the Mislead spell. In this case, the Beholder can ascertain that the target is an illusion. I interpret that some of the Vine Blights use their reactions to indicate that the Warlock was near their position just a moment ago, but now somehow they cannot detect the Warlock with her exceptionally high stealth skill check. The Beholder floats into a slightly different position. As a bonus action, the Beholder activates its anti-magic cone. The cone emerges out from the Beholder's central large eye, and it extends out 150 feet. Within the anti-magic cone, all magic spells, magic items, and magical effects are suppressed. The cone lasts until the start of the Beholder's next turn. The magical powers can come back again outside the anti-magic cone. At this time, the anti-magic cone suppresses the Warlock's Mislead spell. Belly Burns no longer is invisible, and instead she is exposed within the anti-magic cone. Her illusory duplicate vanishes, at least for now. The Warlock Belly Burns feels an uncanny weight blocking her magical abilities. She knows that she needs to escape from the anti-magic cone as quickly as possible. Belly Burns steps across the rocks and dead vegetation. She manages to move outside the anti-magic cone, but she needs to roll an acrobatics skill check to avoid slipping down from the wet rocks and twigs. She rolls 19, and she steadies her footing. Now outside the anti-magic cone, the Warlock uses her action to cast the spell's Darkness, without using a spell slot, instead using her Infernal Tiefling Lineage spellcasting. With her concentration during the next 10 minutes, Belly Burns creates magical darkness around herself in a radius of 15 feet. After casting the Darkness spell, now the Warlock's Mislead spell comes to an end. The Warlock could not cast 2 concentration spells at the same time anyway. The Beholder's dark vision cannot see through the magical darkness. The blind sight of the Vine Blights can perceive through the Darkness spell. The Warlock's Eldritch invocation of Devil's Sight allows for her to see through the magical darkness. She uses this approach often for creating disadvantage for her enemies and advantage for herself. As a bonus action, Belly Burns casts the spell Jump on herself, again without using a spell slot, instead using her Eldritch invocation of the Otherworldly Leap. During the next 1 minute, once during each of her turns, Belly Burns can spend 10 feet of her movement to jump up to 30 feet. She already used all of her movement during this turn. The jump spell could become useful during her next turns. After the Warlock ends her turn, then the Beholder can make a legendary action. One option is to use an eye ray, but the Beholder's eye rays specifically require for the Beholder to see the target. The Darkness spell currently blocks the Beholder's line of sight. The other option of a legendary action is to chomp, making 2 bite attacks. However, the Beholder would need to be within its melee range of 5 feet for making the bite attacks. I considered about adding extra options of legendary actions outside the standard content in the Monster Manual. I decided against adding anything extra. Specifically, I considered that options about teleportation or extra movement during a legendary action would be too powerful for a Beholder, because then the Beholder could move its anti-magic cone along with itself and essentially shut down nearly any situation. The 8 Vine Blights are the next to act. One is within melee range of the Warlock, another can use its special swim speed of 20 feet to reach within attack range. The Vine Blights and the Warlock all can see normally within the Darkness spell. In this case, no advantage or disadvantage applies with their attack rolls against each other. The Vine Blights can reach out to 10 feet with the Constricting Vine melee attack. The 2 Vine Blights within this range make the 2 attack rolls, resulting in 7 and 14. The attack with the 14 normally would hit against the Warlock's armor class of 13. The Warlock uses her reaction to cast Shield with her Enspelled armor, boosting her armor class up to 18 and blocking the attack. The Shield spell deflects the clumps of vines, twigs, and grasses. If one of the attacks would hit the Warlock, then the Warlock automatically would be grappled, held in place with a speed of 0, while suffering bludgeoning damage of the constricting vine. Ballet Burns is satisfied with her choice of using the shield spell to protect herself. The other Vine Blights use their movement and their actions to dash toward the Warlock. In this environment, I am granting a swim speed of 20 feet, but still the Tree Blights need to dash. After using their actions in this way, then the Vine Blights cannot do anything else during their turns. Technically, the game rules allow for the Beholder to make a legendary action after any other creature ends its turn. I interpret that the Beholder makes its legendary actions only after its enemy of the Warlock and not after its allies of the Vine Blights. You might interpret it differently. In round 2, at the start of the Beholder's turn, the anti-magic cone deactivates. The Beholder cannot see the Warlock inside the darkness spell, and accordingly it cannot target the Warlock with any of its eye rays. The Beholder knows that the Warlock is somewhere inside the magical darkness, but the Beholder cannot see the location. The Beholder uses its bonus action to reactivate the anti-magic cone, lasting until the start of its next turn. The Beholder rotates until the anti-magic cone can move across the position of the Warlock, effectively cutting through the darkness spell and suppressing all of the Warlock's other magical powers. The Beholder wants to use its eye rays against the Warlock, but the anti-magic cone blocks even the Beholder's own eye rays. Unless the Warlock will stop concentrating on the darkness spell, then the Beholder will continue to face this quandary during every round of the combat. The Beholder floats closer toward the Warlock. It uses the dash action to move into melee contact. Later, the Beholder probably can use its bite attack and possibly its legendary action of the Chomp for making 2 bite attacks. Right now, though, the Beholder already used its action to dash. The Warlock Ballet Burns starts her turn inside the Beholder's anti-magic cone. She begins to step over to another stone outside the anti-magic cone. The movement provokes an opportunity attack when she exits the 10-foot reach of one of the Vine Blights. This Vine Blight attempts a constricting vine attack that possibly could damage and grapple the Warlock. The opportunity attack rolls a natural 1, indicating an automatic miss. With this moment of good fortune, the Warlock is not damaged or grappled. She continues to step away. Once again, Ballet Burns rolls an acrobatics skill check when stepping onto a wet and slippery surface. With a result of 13, the Warlock maintains her balance. Now Ballet Burns is outside the Beholder's anti-magic cone. Her darkness spell resumes, at least for the portion that is outside the anti-magic cone. The Warlock regains all of her magical powers. The Warlock Ballet Burns reconnects with the familiar energy of her Pact of the Blade. She can use her Charisma ability score for her attack and damage modifiers with her Pact weapon of the Dragon Wrath Longsword. With the attack action, she can make 3 attacks, thanks to the Eldritch invocations of the Thirsting Blade and the Devouring Blade. The Warlock rolls her attacks with advantage, using her Devil's Sight to see through the magical darkness spell, while the Beholder awkwardly is unable to see through the magical darkness. Aiming against the armor class of 18, the 3 advantage attack rolls are 29 for a hit, 24 for another hit, and a natural 20 for a critical hit. The 2 regular hits with the Dragon Wrath Longsword inflict a total of 22 slashing damage and 18 fire damage. For the critical hit, the damage dice are doubled, producing the maximum 27 slashing damage plus 15 fire damage. Additionally, with the critical hit, Ballet Burns applies her Eldritch invocation of an Eldritch Smite, using a 5th level Pact Magic spell slot with double the damage dice of the critical hit. The critical Eldritch Smite generates 60 points of force damage. Ordinarily, a target at the huge size or smaller would be knocked down into the prone condition, but the Beholder is immune to the prone condition. After the Eldritch Onslaught, the Beholder retains only 48 of its total 190 hit points. The Beholder is in the bloodied condition, with half or fewer of its hit point maximum. At this time, the Beholder lashes out, desperately empowering its far realm nightmares with an instinct of self-preservation. Ballet Burns considers about applying her special feature of Hurl Through Hell. She knows, however, that the Beholder is a legendary creature. The Beholder could use its legendary resistances automatically to succeed with at least a few saving throws. After the Warlock ends her turn, then the Beholder can make a legendary action. It is within melee range to use the Chomp option of making 2 bite attacks, aiming at an awkward angle outside the anti-magic cone. The attacks are at disadvantage while the beholder cannot see through the magical darkness. The two disadvantage attack rolls are 21 and 10. One attack hits against the Warlock's armor class of 13 and it is too high to be blocked by a shield spell. The bite causes 17 points of piercing damage. With the instance of damage, the Warlock rolls a Constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on the darkness spell. With the bonus of the Resilient Constitution feat, a result of 17 succeeds. The concentration continues. Meanwhile, Blade Burns stands with 98 of her total 115 hit points. The 8 Vine Blights converge to attack the Warlock. 4 of the Vine Blights use their movement to move closer. Among these 4, one still is outside the 60-foot range of its blind sight to see the Warlock, so it uses the dash action to move closer. The other 3 Vine Blights can use the Entangled Plants feature to create the magical effects of the Entangle spell within the Warlock's space. Technically, only one Entangle spell can apply at one time within the same space. Blade Burns needs to roll strength saving throws to avoid becoming entangled and restrained. The first roll is 15 for a success. The second roll is 4, and the Warlock uses her Dark One's Own Luck feature to add 1 die 10. She brings the result up to 13 for a success. The third saving throw results as a 14 for another success. The Warlock is not restrained. 2 of the Vine Blights happen to be within the area of the Entangle spell. They roll the strength saving throws. The results are 22 and 18. Both of these Vine Blights avoid becoming restrained. Although nobody is restrained in the Entangle spell, the area still is difficult terrain, lasting up to 1 minute with the concentration of the Vine Blight who created the effect. Among the remaining 4 Vine Blights still to act, one needs to move slightly closer to the Warlock in order to be within the 10-foot reach of making a melee attack. Now all 4 of these Vine Blights use the same Constricting Vine attack. They are unhindered by the magical darkness, while they use blind sight to perceive the Warlock. Now that the Beholder is in the bloodied condition, with half or fewer of its hit points, then the manifestations of its Far Realm dreams attack more ferociously than usual. The Vine Blights make their attack rolls with advantage. The first attack roll is 12, missing against the armor class of 13. The second is 12 again, missing the target. The third attack roll is 17, but the Warlock uses her reaction to cast Shield with her enspelled armor, blocking the attack. The third attack roll is 23, hitting through the increased shield armor class of 18. The one hit causes 6 bludgeoning damage. The Constricting Vine grapples the Warlock. While she is grappled, the Warlock's speed is reduced to 0. She makes her attacks with disadvantage against any target other than the Vine Blight who is grappling her. The Vine Blight who hit her already used its movement during this turn. During its next turn, this Vine Blight could move at half of its speed while carrying the grappled Warlock. With the incoming damage, the Warlock needs to roll a Constitution saving throw for concentrating on the Darkness spell. With a result of 18, the Warlock maintains the concentration. The Darkness spell continues. At this time, the Warlock Blade Burns stands with 92 of her total 115 hit points. In round 3, at the start of the Beholder's turn, the anti-magic cone disappears. The Beholder cannot see inside the Warlock's Darkness spell, but it knows that the Warlock stands in the adjacent space. The Beholder rotates itself to face into this general direction. As a bonus action, the Beholder reactivates the anti-magic cone. Within the anti-magic cone, the Warlock's Darkness spell is suppressed. The Warlock's Shield spell normally would continue until the start of her next turn, but it is suppressed. All of the Warlock's magical powers are blocked inside the anti-magic cone. The Beholder cannot use its eye rays within the anti-magic cone. It can, though, make one bite attack. The attack roll is 22, hitting against the Warlock's armor class of 13. The bite inflicts 15 points of piercing damage. With the incoming damage, Blade Burns rolls a Constitution saving throw for concentrating on her Darkness spell. A result of 16 succeeds. The Warlock Blade Burns starts her turn still grappled by a Constricting Vine, and automatically she suffers 3 bludgeoning damage. She now retains 74 of her total 115 hit points. She rolls another Constitution saving throw to concentrate on her Darkness spell. A result of 18 succeeds. Blade Burns is inside the Beholder's anti-magic cone, preventing her from using any of her magical powers at this time. The Warlock uses her action to attempt physically to break the grapple of the Constricting Vine. She can choose either an Athletics or Acrobatics skill check. She chooses Acrobatics. The result is 17. Blade Burns slips herself out from the grapple of the Constricting Vine. The Warlock uses some of her movement to step outside the anti-magic cone. She lands in the water. With this movement, one Vine Blight can make an opportunity attack at the moment when the Warlock exits the 10-foot reach of the Constricting Vine attack. The attack roll is 6, missing against the armor class of 13. The good fortunes continue for the Warlock Blade Burns. Now safely outside the anti-magic cone, the Warlock uses her bonus action to cast the spell Misty Step without using a spell slot, instead using her Fey-touched feet. She teleports 30 feet away. In this new position, the Warlock uses 10 feet of her regular movement to jump 30 feet with her active jump spell. Blade Burns jumps up into a tall tree. She needs to roll another acrobatic skill check to maintain her balance up here. With a result of 21, the Warlock steadies herself in the upper branches of the tree. The darkness spell reforms around the Warlock in her current location. After the Warlock ends her turn, then the Beholder can make a legendary action. Unfortunately for the Beholder, it cannot do anything in the current situation. The Beholder cannot use its Eye Ray option because it cannot see through the Warlock's darkness spell. It cannot use the Chomp option for 2 bite attacks because the Warlock is too far outside the 5-foot range of a bite attack. The Vine Blights move toward the Warlock. All 8 of these creatures are within range of attempting the Entangled Plants feature, essentially casting the Entangle spell. 3 of the Vine Blights already used this feature previously, so they need to try to re-summon the power to use it again. They roll 1d6 to attempt to recharge. They roll 2, 3, and 1. They all fail to recharge the Entangled Plants feature. In total now, 5 of the 8 Vine Blights create the effect of the Entangle spell, aiming to restrain the Warlock. Once again, only 1 Entangle spell can occur at the same time within the same space. Blade Burns needs to roll 5 strength saving throws with her -1 modifier to try to avoid becoming restrained. For the first instance, the Warlock rolls 15 and succeeds. For the second strength saving throw, the Warlock rolls 18 and succeeds. The third saving throw is 14. The fourth saving throw is 19. The fifth strength saving throw is 14. The Warlock beats the odds, and she manages to avoid becoming restrained. She did not even need to use her Dark One's own luck feature to boost any of these saving throws. Nonetheless, the final instance of the Entangle effect does persist, with the Vine Blight's concentration up to the next 1 minute. During this time, the area is difficult terrain. In round 4, at the start of the Beholder's turn, the anti-magic cone is deactivated. The Beholder cannot see the Warlock inside the darkness spell, but the Beholder knows that the Warlock is somewhere inside the magical darkness. The Beholder floats 40 feet toward this area. In this closer position, the Beholder rotates his body to aim its central eye upward. As a bonus action, the Beholder reactivates the anti-magic cone, filling through the space of the Warlock up in the tall tree. The Warlock feels the heavy weight of the anti-magic cone. Her darkness spell is suppressed for now, along with all of her magical powers. The Beholder cannot use its eye rays within the anti-magic cone. Additionally, the Beholder is too far away from the Warlock to attempt a bite attack with the reach of only 5 feet. The Beholder considers to use a dash action to float upward toward the Warlock in order to lock down the Warlock into melee contact and within the range of the Beholder's bite attack. However, this approach worked poorly for the Beholder previously. With a little bit of distance away from the Warlock, such as where the Beholder is positioned right now, the cone shape of the anti-magic cone could fill a greater amount of space around the Warlock and constrain the Warlock's options. The Vine Blights could converge to attack for 1 or 2 rounds of combat, and then the Beholder will move closer. With this plan, the Beholder wants to stay at about the current distance from the Warlock. The Warlock Blade Burns starts her turn still with 74 of her total 115 hit points. Her options have been limited by the Beholder. She is still inside the anti-magic cone. Ordinarily, she might use her active jump spell to jump into a different position, but the anti-magic cone blocks this feature and all of the Warlock's magical powers. Blade Burns allows herself to fall down from the tree and into the water. She cannot avoid the falling damage, but the damage is halved with the impact in the water. Blade Burns suffers 12 bludgeoning damage, and technically she is in the prone condition. The Warlock rolls a Constitution saving throw to concentrate on the Darkness spell. A result of 18 succeeds. The Darkness spell continues, surrounding the Warlock, now entirely outside the Beholder's anti-magic cone. The Beholder previously rotated the direction of the cone slightly upward, and the Warlock fell beneath the anti-magic cone. Blade Burns uses half of her movement to upright herself and to end the prone condition. The Warlock feels her magic powers return to her. She spends 10 feet of her movement to jump 30 feet with her active jump spell. She leaps into melee contact with the Beholder in a position where she can stand outside the anti-magic cone. The Warlock rolls an acrobatics skill check to avoid slipping down from the wet rock where she is standing. She rolls 19. The Warlock maintains her steady footing. Belade Burns recognizes that she can end this battle now. Currently, the Beholder retains only 48 of its total 190 hit points. It is in the bloodied condition with half or fewer of its hit point maximum. The Warlock, Belade Burns, makes 3 attacks with her packed weapon of the Dragonwrath Longsword. She rolls with advantage using her Devil's Sight inside the darkness while the Beholder cannot see her at this time. The 3 advantage attack rolls are 26, 31, and 29. All 3 attacks hit against the Beholder's armor class of 18. In total, the 3 hits together cause 32 points of slashing damage, as well as 21 points of fire damage with the Dragonwrath Longsword. The Beholder falls with 0 hit points. It is defeated. The Beholder dissolves. All of its vine blights dissolve. The Beholder and its nightmares melt away, and they vanish from this world. The Warlock Belade Burns has won this battle. She learned a few important lessons about making cautious preparations and adjusting throughout a developing battle situation. The Warlock encourages for her team to move the sailing ship from the Swampland through the watery passageway and out to the Grand Ocean. The team sets sail for the destination of a seaport town, with plans to seize control and expand the Warlock's reach of power. The seaport town was devastated by the Worm of Doom. The Warlock wants for her team to reclaim control of this place now and rebuild it before anyone else can rebuild and strengthen this place. Soon enough, Belade Burns returns to her magical lair. She contemplates about her next steps of how to manage her growing community, the responsibilities of being a leader and protector, and the expanding reach of her domain. At this time, the Warlock's fiend patron intrudes into her mind. The Archfiend asserts that the Warlock cannot make any more power grab for herself. Rather, the Warlock owes everything in her life to the Archfiend. She would not exist without the Fiend. Accordingly, any growth of the Warlock's power and control must be surrendered to the Archfiend. If the Warlock will not agree with these demands, then the Archfiend will send its hellish forces to attack. The Warlock Belade Burns disagrees with the Fiend's demands. She emphasizes that she discovered the one true name of the Archfiend, and therefore she is the one person in the world with the ability to defeat the Fiend, who otherwise would be immortal. According to the newest version of the Fiendish contract, the Archfiend and the Warlock cannot harm each other directly or indirectly. The Archfiend's threats, therefore, are meaningless. The Archfiend warns the Warlock that in time, the terms of this contract may yet change. The Warlock continues to contemplate about her next steps. She is aware that the Worm of Doom persists as a serious problem. The worm is unpredictable about striking in any place and at any time. Soon, Belade Burns will need to decide about how to defend her lair and the surrounding community against a possible attack by the Worm of Doom. Belade Burns advances up to character level 17! In the video text description, you can see a web link for the advanced preview of the level 17 character sheet in D&D Beyond. The next few episodes will focus on the activities at the seaport town. Our story will continue with Nemesis Battles, working toward a final conclusion in episode number 52. Another video series will start soon thereafter. For now, in the comment section, please share your ideas and suggestions about what could have happened differently and what you would like to see during other episodes. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.